Good day, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the water pollution problem around the world. What is water pollution? Water pollution is the contamination of water bodies, usually as a result of human activities. Water bodies including lakes, rivers, oceans, aquifer, and the groundwater. So, there are few types of water pollutions, such as the groundwater pollutions, marine pollutions, surface water pollutions, and organic pollutions. So for the surface water pollutions, it includes the pollutions of oceans, lakes, and the river. Marine pollution is a subset of the surface water pollutions. Marine pollution is where the contaminants, such as chemicals, nutrients, and heavy metals are carried from farms, factories, and the cities by streams and rivers into the bay. From there, they travel out to the sea. For the groundwater pollutions, the groundwater get polluted when contaminants that comes from pesticides, fertilizer, and waste leaching from the landfills and the septic systems. This becomes a serious issue as the groundwater pollution would bring negative effect to the human health and decreasing in economy. For the organic pollutions, it occurs when an excess of organic matter, such as manure or untreated sewage, enters the water resources. So we come to the category of pollution sources. So there are two. The first one is the point source. The first one is the point source pollutions. So the point source pollution is the pollution comes from a single source. For example, a discharge pipe attached to the factory or the oil spill from a tanker. Secondly, we have the non-point source pollutions. The water pollution happens not from one single source, but from many different scattered sources. For example, agriculture or stormwater runs off into the waterways from the land. The non-point source pollution is difficult to regulate since there is no single identifiable culprit. Next, we move on to how do we know when there is water polluted? Water pollution is less obvious and hard to detect without any measurements. So water pollution can be analyzed through physical, biological, and chemical testing. So they involve the collection of samples followed by the specialized analytical tests. For physical testing, it is a measurement taken by physical appearance such as temperature, solid concentrations, and turbidity. For biological testing, it involves the use of plant, animal, or microbial indicator to monitor the health of an aquatic ecosystem. For chemical testing, it combines with the principle of analytical chemicals by taking samples of water and measuring the concentrations of different chemicals that it contains. So if the concentration of certain chemicals is too high, we can say that the water is polluted. The measurement act as the chemical indicators of water quality are pH, biochemical oxygen demand BOD, chemical oxygen demand COD, the nutrients such as nitrate and phosphorus compounds, metals, oil and grease, total petroleum hydrocarbon, TPH, and pesticides. First, the Minamata disease. So it is a neurological syndrome caused by severe mercury poisoning. Disease caused by the release of methyl mercury in the industrial wastewater from the chemical factory in 1956. So the second outbreak of Minamata disease occurred in Niigata Prefecture in 1965 and is known as the Niigata Minamata disease. So for the Itai disease, it's caused by the mass cadmium poisoning of Tomoya Prefecture at 1912. So we will further discuss it later in our topic. The problem statement of our project is, what are the causes and effects of water pollution and how to minimize the water pollution? The causes of water pollution. First, accidental oil spillage. Accidental discharge occurs when vessels collide or come into distress at the sea and break open, or when a pipeline is break. For example, ship accidents such as the Exxon Valdez disaster, which spilled large amounts of petroleum product into the oceans. Eventually, massive cleanup efforts involving thousands of people were undertaken. For agriculture, agriculture can lead to the water degradations. The fertilizer, pesticides, and the animal waste from farms wash the nutrients and pathogens into our waterways. The nutrients pollution caused by nitrogen and the phosphorus can cause the overgrowth of algae and harmful to the people and wildlife. This is also called as the eutrophication process. As the algae grows, it will reduce the oxygen level in the water and create a dead zone in the sea. Ocean acidifications can make it tougher for the shellfish and the coral to survive. The oceans are becoming more acidic as the shellfish and the coral absorb about a quarter of carbon pollution created each year by burning fossil fuels. This process makes it harder for the shellfish and other species to build shells and may impact the nervous systems of sharks, the clownfish, and also other marine life. Next, we move on to the disposal of industrial waste. The toxic substances such as detergent, mercury, and cadmium is found to be discharged into the sea. The cadmium and the mercury are usually used as the battery. The typical example of disposal of industrial waste is a Japanese factory discharged a huge amount of mercury metal in Minamata Bay. So this is what we know as the Minamata disease. The heavy metal contaminated the fish stocks, and it took almost 10 years for the problem to come to the attention of the authorities. Next, the discharge of the radioactive waste. The high concentrations of radioactive waste can cause the great effect to the public, as it can cause the cancer and the death of a person. The radioactive waste is any pollution that emits radiations beyond what is naturally released by the environment. It is usually generated by uranium mining, nuclear power plants, and the productions and testing military weapons. The radioactive waste can persist in the environment for thousands of years. So the disposal of radioactive waste has becoming one of the major challenges. Next, we come to the effect of the water pollution. We can relate the economy to the water pollution, as it can be expensive to treat and prevent the contaminations of water. For example, the government needs to raise funds to solve the problem of overgrowth of algae. It will be a huge amount of money to settle this problem. Second, the water pollution brings the effect to the negative effect to the human health. As the water is the essential for drinking and the daily activities, the polluted water like chemicals in drinking water can cause the problem to health. Some heavy metals such as mercury is hardly removed by the filter, so they need the special treatment for the separation process. Thirdly, we come to the destructions of ecosystem, which is also one of the of effect of water pollutions. Water pollutions cause the death of many organisms and disrupt the entire ecosystems. Heavy metals from industrial process can accumulate in nearby lakes and rivers. This can lead to the death of marine life and affect the food chain and the balance of ecosystems. And lastly, we come to the discussions to minimize the water pollutions. The prevention is better than cure. We know that we should focus on the prevention of the water pollution instead of solving the problem after the water pollutions happen. So at the individual stage, what we can do is we should use the water wisely by reducing the water usage. This can help to reduce the amount of contaminated water that need treatments. Secondly, the law and the regulations. Each continent and country may differ in which laws they enforce, but they aim to have the same overall positive influence to save the environment. In United States, there are the 1972 Clean Water Act and 1974 Safe Drinking Water Act as the guideline of water quality control. Third, we come to the organizations. It's very crucial to maintain the cooperations between different organizations. For government, it can improve on the wastewater treatment process and stormwater management to prevent pollutants from contaminating the water. For the NGOs, organizations, they should work closely to educate and create awareness to people on the danger of the water pollutions. Lastly, the polluter pays principles. This means that whoever causes the pollutions should have paid to clean it up by operating in all kinds of ways. For example, the Minamata diseases that caused by the Japanese company, that company will need to bear the charges of medical fees of patients and pay for the long-term cleaning fees until the water resources is clean. That's all from us today. Thank you.